Hello students, today we are going to start with the lesson number 3, Life Processes in Living Organisms Part 2, Standard 10th, Maharashtra Board, and myself Mrs. Prachi Surudikar will explain you this lesson. The subtopics of this lesson covered are reproduction, asexual and sexual reproduction and modern technology, reproductive health, and population explosion. Out of that, we have covered asexual reproduction in my previous video. I have given the link in description box. If you want, you can check the asexual reproduction. Then in this video, we are going to deal with the sexual reproduction and especially sexual reproduction in case of plants. Before we start, please like, subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon. So let us start with the sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction always occurs with the two germ cells. What are germ cells? The cells which takes part in reproduction process are the germ cells. So in sexual reproduction always two germ cells are involved. What are those two germ cells? These two germ cells are male gamete and female gamete. So sexual reproduction involves basically two main processes. The first process is gamete formation, because gamete is very important for the sexual reproduction, male and female gamete. So gamete formation is the first main process of sexual reproduction. Now these gametes are always haploid. What is mean by haploid? They are having half set of chromosome, and that haploid gametes are formed due to the meiosis. We have learned meiosis in detail during our chapter number 2, Life Processes in Living Organisms, part 1. There in the part of cell division, we have studied meiosis in detail. If you want, I have given the link in the description box. You can watch the meiosis again by clicking that link. So haploid gametes are formed due to the meiosis. So in this way, the first main process occurs. What is that main process? Gamete formation. Once the gametes are formed, male gamete and female gamete is formed, that male gamete and female gametes unite with each other, and due to their union, the zygote is formed. This is called as the fertilization, which is the second main process of sexual reproduction. So a diploid zygote, diploid means a zygote which is having double set of chromosome. A diploid zygote is formed by union of male and female gametes, that is fertilization. So in this way, sexual reproduction involves the two main processes, gamete formation and fertilization. Now, what is the importance of sexual reproduction? This is very important point. This question is asked every time, even in your exercise also. This question is asked. Like, the question is, in case of sexual reproduction, newborn shows similarities about characters. Explain this statement with the suitable example. This question they have asked you in your exercise, which is the question number 5. So here you can write the answer of that question with the help of this screen. So importance of sexual reproduction is, here the two parents. Always in sexual reproduction, two parents are involved, that is male parent and the female parent. Fusion of male gamete and female gamete always occurs during sexual reproduction. Now, whatever the new individual which will get produced, he will have the genes of two gametes, male gamete and female gamete. Female gamete is the gamete which comes from the mother, and male gamete is the gamete which comes from the father. So in male gamete the genes of father will be there, and in female gamete the gene of mother is there. So whenever the fusion occurs of these two gametes, whatever the new offspring or the new progeny which will generate, it will have the two genes, mother genes as well as the father genes. So due to this new individual always has the recombined genes of both the parents. Hence, the new individual shows similarities with their parents for some characters and has some characters different than both the parents. If we take the example for this, we know that in most of the time our facial texture, our eyes or eye color, hair texture that resembles with one of our parent. Like it is also said that we are just looking same like a mother or same like a father. So why it is said like that? Because whenever the sexual reproduction occurs, the few genes are exactly similar with our parents, and the few genes are exactly different from our parents. So there is a diversity in living organisms which occurs due to the genetic variation. What are genetic variation? Changes in the gene. As I said, in your in you as a progeny, you will have the gene set of both your mother and father. This is the genetic variation that you are having. Whereas in case of your mother, she will not have that set of your father's gene. So she will be showing the different characters than you, and some characters which are exactly similar with you. So this is genetic variation, which this genetic variation helps the organism to adjust with the changing environment and thereby to maintain their existence. Due to this, plants and animals can save themselves from being extinct. So this is the importance of sexual reproduction. The organism who undergoes sexual reproduction, they will have a less threat of being extinct. Extinct means to disappear, to vanish. So there are less chances of extinction if the organism is reproducing by sexual method. Then the next we are going to study is sexual reproduction in plants. So before starting sexual reproduction in plants, we must know what is the structural anatomy of the plant or what are the parts of the flower. So this flower is the structural unit of sexual reproduction in plants. To occur this sexual reproduction, flower is very important in case of the plants. This flower consists of four floral whorls. Calyx, you can see the calyx over here. Calyx, corolla, you can see the corolla over here. Then gynoecium and androecium. These are the four floral whorls of the plant. What are the four floral whorls of a flower? Calyx, corolla, gynoecium and androecium. These are the four floral whorls of the flower. Now out of that, some floral whorls are essential. What are essential whorls? Essential means they are very important. So such important whorls are two, gynoecium and androecium. So this gynoecium and androecium are the essential whorls of the flower, while non-essential whorls or accessory whorls of the flower are calyx and corolla. This calyx and corolla are not having important role in reproduction. That is why they are non-essential wholes. Then what is the function of this calyx and corolla? So protection of the inner parts is the function of the calyx and corolla. Whatever the important female part, gynoecium, female reproductive organ gynoecium and androecium is there. To protect this androecium and gynoecium, this calyx and corolla are there. So what is the function of calyx and corolla? To protect the inner important whorls of a flower. So what are the essential whorls of the flower? Gynoecium and androecium are the essential whorls of the flower. Gynoecium is concerned with the female part of the flower and androecium is concerned with the male part of the flower. Now, many of these flowers are having pedicel, stalk at their base. You can see the stalk is called as the pedicel. The flower who are having this pedicel are called pedicellate flower, whereas the flower who will not have such stalk, who will not have this pedicel, are called as sessile flower. Now, calyx, which is the first floral whorl of the flower, the member of this calyx are called as the sepals. These sepals are green in color. They are at the base of the flower, and the function of this calyx is to protect the inner whorls of the flower. The second floral whorl of the flower is corolla. The members of this corolla are the petals. Petals are very attractive in color, bright in color, so they attract the insects for the pollination. The members of gynoecium is the essential floral whorl, contains three parts. Stigma, this is the stigma. Style, this middle tube is the style. And the ovary, you can see the ovary over here. So all these are the members of gynoecium and they are called as the carpels. What is gynoecium? Gynoecium is the female part of the flower. This gynoecium consists of stigma, style and ovary, while androecium is the male part of the flower, and this androecium consists of anther. You can see the anther over here, and filament. This green colored is the filament. This is the anther. In the anther, pollen grains are present. So anther and filaments are the members of androecium. So this is the structural anatomy of the flower. Now next is bisexual and unisexual flower. A flower is called as bisexual if both the whorls, that is androecium is the male whorl and the gynoecium, which is the female whorl, if the flower is having both the whorls, androecium and gynoecium, then that flower is called as the bisexual flower. Here you can see androecium and gynoecium both in one flower. So that is bisexual flower. Then unisexual flowers. Unisexual flowers are of two types, staminate flower and pistillate flower. Staminate flower means stamens. What are stamens? Stamens are nothing but the androeciums, which are the male parts. So if the flower is having only male part, that is androecium, and female part is absent, gynoecium is absent, then that is staminate flower or unisexual flower. Whereas if the flower is having only female part or the gynoecium is present while the male parts, that is androeciums, are absent, then that flower is called as the pistillate flower, or we can say female flower. So in this way, the bisexual means the flower which is having both whorls, androecium and gynoecium. Unisexual flowers are the male flowers or female flowers. Male flowers are having only androecium. Female flowers are only having the gynoecium. So in this way, these are the bisexual and unisexual flower. Now, double fertilization. This double fertilization is very important phenomenon. So now pollen grains which are present in the anthers, these pollen grains are transferred to the stigma. This is the gynoecium. This structure, green colored, is the gynoecium. Gynoecium, members of the gynoecium are stigma. This one is stigma. This is style, middle tube is style, and this is the ovary. Inside the ovary, you can see the ovules over there. These all are the ovules. This is ovary, this is style, and this is the stigma. So pollen grain, pollen grain is the male gamete of the flower. So pollen grain come and fall on the stigma. This is called as the pollination. Pollen grains from the anther are transferred to the stigma. This is called as pollination. Now, how this pollination occurs? How these pollen grains come from anther to this stigma? So, due to the various agents like abiotic agents, wind. If the wind or the air starts to move, that wind will travel this pollen grain on the stigma, or the water even can travel this pollen grain to the stigma. Similarly, some biotic agents are also there, like insects and other animals. So insects, for example, honeybees. Honeybees, when they move from one flower to the another flower to their legs, these small pollen grains get attached, and when they sit on the another flower, on the stigma of that flower, these pollen grains get germinated. So in this way, biotic agents and abiotic agents are responsible for the germination of this pollen grain. This pollen grain is having the two cells inside it. One is tube cell and another is generative cell. So pollen grain is having two cells inside it. One is tube cell, other is generative cell. Now, whenever these pollen grain fall on the stigma of any other flower, it's germinate. Now, what is the meaning of germination? Germination is the formation of the pollen tube. You can see over here the extension of this pollen grain into the pollen tube. This process is called as the germination. Germination is the process in which the extension of the pollen grain occurs and the pollen tube occurs. Now this pollen tube is having the tube nucleus. Now this pollen tube starts to move further, grow further, and these two cells, generative cell and the tube nucleus, reach towards the oval. So whatever the two cells which were present inside this pollen grain, now these two cells have reached towards the ovule. Now what is the structure of this ovule? What is the internal structure of this ovule that we will see? So this ovule are having these type of the cells. So this middle cell is very important cell called as the egg cell. Surrounding that egg cell, two cells are present called as the synergid cells. In between, two cells are present called as the polar nuclei cells. And at the end, three cells are present called as the antipodal cell. This is the structure of the ovule. What was ovule that we have seen over here? This is the ovule. So inside that ovule, this structure is present: egg cells, synergid cells, polar nuclei cells, and antipodal cells. Now these two cells of the pollen grain get fused with the cells that are present inside the ovule. So one cell from the pollen grain get fertilized or get fused with the egg cell, and that will form the zygote, while the other cell of pollen grain fertilized with the polar nuclei cells, and that will form the endosperm over here. So in this way, double fertilization is occurring. How the double fertilization is occurring? What is fertilization? Fertilization is the male gamete and female gamete, right? So here, male gamete, one male gamete cell fused with the egg cell. This is the first fertilization, while the second gamete fused with the second female gametic cell. Here, the second time fertilization is occurring. In this way, in total, 2 times fertilization is occurring. Hence, it is called as the double fertilization. Now, whatever we have studied, we will see it in animation. This is the pollen grain which falls on the stigma, germinates. The pollen tube will form. This pollen tube now will have the two nucleus inside the ovule. These two nucleus, one fused with the egg cell and form zygote, another will form endosperm, and every fertilized ovule will start into the seed, and the remaining ovary get transferred into the fruit. So in this way, the double fertilization is occurring. Now, when the pollination involves only one flower or two flowers born on the same plant, it is called as the self-pollination. Here you can see one plant, here is the second plant. If the pollination occurs only one flower, suppose if this is the flower which is having male part and the female part, if the pollen grain of this flower falls on the stigma of this flower only, then the pollination has occurred in one flower only. Then that is called as the self-pollination. Or self-pollination is pollen grain of this flower falls on the pollen grain of the another flower of the same plant, then that is called as the self-pollination. Whereas if it involves the two flowers born on two plants of the same species, it is called as the cross-pollination. For example, the pollen grains from this flower get transferred to the stigma of this flower. Then this is cross-pollination, because the pollen grain of this plant are falling on the female part of the another plant, then that is called as the cross-pollination. So, to produce the new varieties, scientists bring this cross-pollination with the help of the brush. Thank you, students. Thanks for watching.